I'm out on a walk. I've been taking a walk most days. I try to walk for an hour, but a lot of times it ends up being a bit less than that. My platelets are pretty low, so I do notice that I get more tired, and I try not to stray too far from my house. This is probably annoying with the bouncing. I try not to stray too far from my house so that if anything were to happen, at least I know I'd be close to home. The other day, I got a headache. I don't know what my platelets are, but I am guessing that they might be under 20. They might be about 20 now. I can usually tell by the amount of the hematomas and the petechia, and I have one in my mouth. Maybe you didn't need to see that, but I had a really big one on this side, and I had one on the tip of my tongue, and those are new. I think I've only gotten a hematoma in my mouth once, and I've heard some other people say that when they get to the place where they're getting hematomas in their mouth, their numbers are pretty low. But I did start a new drug called Platelet, and I'm going to have my blood checked on Wednesday, which is a few days away. Today's Sunday, and it was supposed to be on Monday, but we had to change it. So I'm really grateful that I have enough energy to walk. It's so pretty where I am. Like, it's one of my favorite things about living where I do is look how tall those trees are. So beautiful here and out here. It's probably better to look around than have to necessarily stare at my face. This is the local high school called Nevada Union where I live. It's in California, but yeah, apparently, now that's making me think, we have a city here called Nevada City, and it was originally just called Nevada, but then the state that borders us, called Nevada, became a state after Nevada City was called Nevada, so they had to change it to Nevada City. And so the county that we're in here in California is actually Nevada County, and it's within California, but where I live, you know, we're really close to Reno and the border of Nevada. So anyway, a little fun fact. So I try to get these walks in because they feel so important to me, even though I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if what I'm doing is helping my platelets in any meaningful way. It doesn't seem to be, at least at this point. If I can't get numbers over 20, then look how pretty. So lovely out here. Then I don't really feel like what I'm doing is helping, but you never know. I mean, maybe it would be worse. I got a cut the other day and on my tape gun, and I'm like, let's see if I have any platelets. Am I going to stop bleeding? And I did, so I must have at least one platelet. It's funny because they're measured in units of thousands, so really it would be 1,000, but it just sounds funnier to say I have one platelet doing its job. My God, I mean, seriously, stop and look at that. Look at that sky. Wow, it's just lovely here. There's a lot I don't love about where I live. Like, apparently the soil's really bad, and the water's really bad, and the air's really bad. We're about to have another power shut off. Well, I think they canceled it, but one thing that is unmatched, at least from everywhere I've lived, is the beauty of the trees, and it's just lovely. It's gorgeous here. I know somebody that's writing their, did I already say this on a video? I don't know. Writing their PhD or master's thesis, I think, on Nevada County and the water quality and women who've gotten breast cancer. And supposedly the incidence of that here is much higher than many of the other counties. I don't know if that's true or not. I haven't really verified that for myself, but that's something I don't love about here. Although I don't know that I would really blame the water for getting breast cancer. I mean, maybe it hasn't helped. Maybe it contributed to me having some health issues, but it's so easy to blame everything externally, and I think that there's actually a lot more to the story. I think there's definitely a mental, emotional component to the physical in the Western world, or at least the people I know. Pretty much everybody thinks that we can control our environment based on the 5G towers, and based on if we eat an organic diet, and how much exercise do we get. And those things are totally important, but I don't know why people don't talk about the psycho-spiritual part, or the mental, emotional part. Some people do, I shouldn't say people don't, but I think a lot of people don't. And we want to, blame the 5G towers and stuff. So probably the soil, probably the water, probably maybe even the air have contributed to me having health challenges. But I do think the story is a lot more rich than that, a lot deeper than that. I actually think that there could be some familial influences as well. I've been lately getting in touch with some family history on both my parents' side, and not just specific and personal to me and my family, but I do think more largely and in general that we are, I guess I'm going to turn around, that we are impacted by our ancestors. And some schools of thought say that 7 years forward and 7 years back have influence in karma and all that. And I can't really prove that myself, but it does make sense to me that habits get repeated, and maybe there's some deeper, I don't know, cosmological, I don't know how to say it, but just some deeper, maybe spiritual influences or something like that that could impact us. And but what can you do about that? It's just it could potentially end up being another blame, like blaming dead family, which would be ridiculous. But I don't mean to really place blame. I mean more to just recognize the holistic nature of the dynamic being and organism that we are. So why in the heck did I start talking about all that? I think I was just talking about all the influences that go beyond the physical. Well, originally I started saying I'm going out for a walk because I am really trying to get a daily walk in. I was doing 10,000 steps, before my August surgery, but I have not gotten myself back to that. I actually don't even think that would be good for me. I think I would be overdoing it. So I'm really trying to focus on not overdoing it, which for me is monumental, just monumental in every way, not overdoing it. I tend to be an overdoer. And maybe a lot of Westerners are, and maybe a lot of Western women are, and maybe a lot of Western mamas are, because I certainly know a lot of moms that could fall into that category of overdoing it. So tomorrow I will have the long-awaited appointment with the Mederi Center, who is this outfit. I like it when older people call places outfits. This outfit in Oregon. I'm now an older person, so I can say that. They're in Oregon, and that's Dr. Sakamano, I think is how you may say her name, and she is a doctor of Oriental medicine, an herbalist, I think, and it seems very promising for something for me to manage the hormone-driven breast cancer that I previously had, and then hopefully address the autoimmune blood disorder with the low platelets. So I thought I was going to have to go somewhere else because of this power shut off. Here I am back at this spot. Just can't not be stopped by it. It's so pretty. I thought I was going to have to go somewhere else and have a secure Wi-Fi connection, but it looks like our power is not getting shut off, so that's great. And I have that appointment, and it might be an hour and a half, which I'm looking forward to. That's great. It's a long time to spend with somebody. I feel like they're very thorough. I uploaded maybe 100 pages of documentation, just my whole history, and it made me go back through the whole history of everything I've been dealing with for the last 3 years. Oh my God, that's crazy. Yeah. My diagnosis with cancer was 10/22/17, and today is December 6th, 2020. So I've been at this for 3 years, actively. So I went through all that and uploaded tons of stuff. And so it felt good just to have a better sense. I mean, I always say, like, so much of this is out of my hands, and some of it's in my hands and some of it's out of my hands. And I'm trying to relax into what's out of my hands because I really can only do so much. But I am looking forward to doing this herbal protocol. I will have another PET CT coming up, and I'm nervous about that, honestly, because I do have some pains and feelings and, different kinds of sensations in my body that feel somewhat reminiscent to what the cancer was like when I had that in my body for I guess it was really a year. It was almost a year from diagnosis to surgery, how long I had cancer in there, but it was at least 6 months before I started real chemo. So I could feel, people ask this question, like, could you feel cancer before you got diagnosed? And I definitely did not feel it, but and who knows now, I'm about to say how much of it's psychosomatic, but once I knew where the tumor was, after the imaging and stuff like that, I could feel. One time I had some alcohol, and I don't even drink, and this was just like one of these situations where with my partner I had a shot of something, and I felt it just go like, it felt like it went right to where the tumor was, and who knows what that was. I mean, that could have been other things, but anyway, I feel stuff like that sometimes, like with sugar and just in general. So the PET CT, I'm debating whether or not I want to do it before Christmas or after Christmas. It's like, will it be a relief or is it going to be something I need to deal with and possibly, not feel great about if there's anything that looks suspicious. So they are following up, like the whole process of going through all the paperwork to upload before my appointment tomorrow had me read some of the report findings, and a couple things, like from one of the CTs I had, it said that there were some nodular densities, and I want to follow up. It actually said, recommending follow-up. So I haven't done any of that follow-up, and I brought it up with my hematologist oncologist, and he said, okay, let's do it. So, and then they also recommended follow-up for the lipoma in my lower back, which they think it's a lipoma, but I guess they can't really say with any certainty. That's one thing I found. I think that I was naive before I've gone through all this health stuff about like what doctors know and what they can see. And I think that we think a mammogram or an ultrasound or a biopsy or any of this stuff is solid, is like proof, 100%. And the more I found out is nothing's 100% really. So there is a way that like I've had to just recognize that nothing's 100%, but we get as close as we can. And so it might not even be a lipoma in my back. I was just listening to someone's story recently, some famous guy who's a realtor, and he's like younger than me. He's 38, and he's gone through, he's gone through 2 cancers, testicular and thyroid, 39 years old. And he had something in his neck. Well, I guess maybe that's where the thyroid thing was. I don't even know. And they misdiagnosed him many times, and I think they do blow you off when you're, quote, young as, oh, that's nothing, And finally he had somebody through some video tell him, a nurse that was watching him do some real estate stuff, told him to go get it checked out. But it's amazing how often misdiagnoses happen. And man, it's just you really have to advocate for yourself. You have to, I think it's great when people can have somebody who loves and cares for them enough to track a lot of this so they don't have to do it themselves. I had that person with my partner for the first, year for solid, and then kind of after that. But it was so helpful in the early days to just have a person that could ask questions that you can't think of. And it's also overwhelming, or it can be, that it's very nice to, someone else is fielding things for you. So there have been times when I've kind of set it down, put it aside, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna like live my life now and not talk or think about health stuff. And that's been nice to do that. And then, you know, at other times I'm like, okay, I've been focusing on my platelet issues for like the last year, and I haven't actually really looked at all at anything with the cancer. So this mederi center will give me a protocol so that I don't have to do the aromatase inhibitor. At least that's my intention. And that is the thing that once a person is going into menopause, which is now me, I had surgical menopause by having my ovaries removed this May of this year. And so instead of them giving me the tamoxifen, which is what I was on before I got the ovaries out, now they want to do an aromatase inhibitor, which can create bone loss, and I already have osteoporosis, so I don't want any more bone loss. And I only had one lymph node that was mildly contained. Like the cancer had spread to one lymph node, and that lymph node was just mildly enlarged. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. And then after the chemo and stuff, when they did the imaging, it wasn't even showing up, and they removed 6 lymph nodes. And I had radiation. I'm just like, if that wasn't enough, man, oh, it's gonna be so hard not to just be so frustrated and angry at that point. Because the whole point of like wrecking my body, just pulverizing my body with such strong poison, was to get rid of the cancer. And if the cancer comes back, like, oh, man, it's just going to be like, what the hell was all that for? But I don't need to go there right now. So yeah, anyway, I love this beautiful walk. We need some rain in this state. You know, we just get these severe like fires and stuff in California, Northern California. And this weather is like spring. I mean, it's just totally stunning out here. But hopefully, I don't know what that's going to do for us for next summer. Next summer might be pretty bad. But in the meantime, I'm enjoying my walks and hope that I can get these platelets up. And we'll see what the Platelet does too. Somebody was commenting on one of my videos, like wondering about it. I tried Promacta. I tried Nplate. Actually, both of them showed a slight rise in the numbers, like in the beginning, and then after that, they didn't stabilize. And then now I'm doing, Platelet, and then there is Rituxan. So there's a chance that I could do the Rituxan after this Platelet, but as long as I can keep myself from any kind of severe bleeding, which I think I started to say earlier. I got a headache the other day, and it was kind of a bad one actually, and I thought, shit, am I gonna have to go to the ER? Because cranial bleeding, brain hemorrhaging is one of the only major downsides to the platelets. I mean, there's other downsides like the level of tiredness, and you know, like if you do get a trauma or something like that, you could bleed and not stop bleeding. But if you're, you know, careful and you don't get a trauma, then really you're just tired. But one of the big downsides is this risk for a brain hemorrhage, and nobody wants that. So I called a nurse and just like had her just talk me through it. I took Tylenol, 325 milligrams, and I woke up and seemed to be fine. So I also had coffee that day, and I just instinctively don't think coffee's good for me. I don't have it very often, but I do on occasion. So, okay, I'm done listening and hearing myself talk. Thanks for your messages. If you're like an ITP person who has questions, or a breast cancer person, it's a weird way to say it, but I do like helping anybody that I'm able to in whatever way I can. It's been a focus of mine. That's like for 3 years I've been dealing with this stuff, so I have learned a little bit. There's plenty I don't know, but triple positive breast cancer, stage 3A. You're my people. If you're in that camp and you want any help, just reach out. I like helping people. All right, thanks for listening.